there was a little more of a dramatic story. There's a prison in southern Illinois. Now, Illinois is a very large state, and for me to drive from the top of the state to the bottom of the state, it's a good 7-hour trip in a car. It's a very 400 miles at least span, maybe more. And this southern Illinois prison is way down. It's further south than St. Louis, and now it's all over the news in America. Flags, Confederate statues. So it was not uncommon in that part of southern Illinois for there to be a lot of Confederate flags flying around. And so you can imagine the mindset of the officers working in this maximum security prison. They didn't particularly have great love for Jews, and it was quite a harsh environment. In this prison, there was a Lutheran minister, and he used to confide in me how he feels so bad for the few Jewish men I see. They really are treated poorly. They really get the business, and he really feels badly for them. I guess he also is very supportive of Israel. He once put a Israeli flag on his front lawn. He wrote articles in the letters to the editor, to defend Israel. So he was really a friendly guy. And before Hanukkah, besides coming in with the menorahs, so there usually Chabad puts out a pamphlet. Besides instructions, it usually has a recipe for some type of food inside the pamphlet. And I personally never thought much about these recipes. What do I need a recipe for? Teach the people this Hanukkah. Tell them how to light the menorah. Who needs recipes? And after this story, I didn't have questions anymore. So I came in, and this flyer had a recipe for potato latkes. Now, this particular man that I'm talking about was a man who would give you the impression that he liked food a lot. He was the right size, and he just, some people, so I figured, chaplain, here's something for you. He's not Jewish, but here's a recipe for, he looks at it, he says, latkes, potato latkes? My grandmother used to make potato latkes. He said, that's strange. Why would a Lutheran minister's grandmother make potato latkes? He says, I don't know. I grew up in this town, Peoria, which is not southern Illinois, but it's closer up north. And I remember even one time I played the bugle as a boy, and I was once brought to the Jewish cemetery to play taps by a Jewish soldier that passed away. And why were you to the Jewish cemetery? He says, I don't know. But he says, I observed the way you bring in a lot of the men, they're not Jewish, and you talk to them about, you don't have to be Jewish. There's laws that God gave to Noah. You speak to them about the 7 laws, universal laws that non-Jews can do and be accepted up into heaven. So listen, I don't know any of this, but Jewish, I don't think I'm Jewish. So I said, listen, the men I'm speaking to, they don't have such an easy time to communicate. Don't you regularly talk with your family? He said, sure. I said, well, why can't you ask him about this whole potato latkes business? So he said, okay, I will. So next month when I came back, he said, well, I didn't speak to my mother. I spoke to my aunt. She wasn't Jewish. And she said, yeah, you're 47 years old. I guess we could break the news to you. You're Jewish. and they were going to call you Mordechai. Now, why did he never know from his mother is because, then I obviously put tefillin on with him. But why didn't he ask his mother? Because in fact, we're within Shloshim. His mother just passed, actually must be the end of the Shiva. His mother just passed away this past week. Her name was Rachel Ben Adel. And I don't know what her father's name was, but his mother, he couldn't ask because his father, who's still alive, he wouldn't even allow his mother, who just got buried now, his father would not allow a Jewish burial.
Gosh, really?
I had him set up with go online to set up a Kaddish plan. And somebody will say Kaddish for his mother, but his father is a virulent anti-Semite. He was a worker for many years in a beer factory in Peoria, Pabst Blue Ribbon beer, and he would come home not just working on the beer, but apparently took a few all the time also. And he used to beat this man's mother and threatened her if he ever tells the kids that she's Jewish or they're Jewish, he's not, she won't be able to say anything else. And finally, he did get his mother alone one time, and she spilled the beans, and how she grew up in St. Louis, and her mother used to put money in a charity box before lighting candles when she was a girl. And so anyway, he actually he went online and he actually started corresponding with Rabbi Rimler, who helped your father and my father out, because he's now the owner of a big Judaica store in Crown Heights, Judaica World, and he sent them tefillin, a talis, this and that, and he started doing, and he had all these questions. He used to go to at one time there was a website, Ask Rabbi. It's part of Chabad.org. And he asked the rabbi, what am I supposed to do? I'm married to a non-Jewish lady. I have 6 non-Jewish kids. So the rabbi didn't have an immediate answer. He says, God will just guide you along the way. He's not married to her anymore. Once he came out with once he acknowledged he was Jewish, he went full force. He sent back his ordination from the Lutherans to the Lutherans. He asked the Aleph Institute to write him up something that he's a chaplain of the Jewish faith to put in his file instead. I was learning him with every month. He has had many ups and downs. He became the chief chaplain of the state of Illinois.
Oh, wow, really? Gosh.
The Aleph Institute honored him as chaplain of the year 4 or 5 years ago. This past year, he just retired, but before retirement, he did a lot of things towards the end. He got in 2017, he has a brand new memo written up that the administrative directors that any Jewish man is allowed to have tefillin, not just have them, but have them in his personal property. And so everybody in the state of Illinois could now have their own tefillin in their room, and he helped out with different things. He was very helpful through the years. It was actually, sadly, one of the last things he did also. There's a chassid in the state of Illinois that, one of his dirty secrets came out of the closet, unfortunately. And so it was the first time the state of Illinois was faced with housing an ultra-Orthodox, like we call them on the street, person. And the Aleph Institute met with the directors, and a whole protocol was set up to accommodate this ultra-Orthodox person in the state of Illinois, and the chief chaplain at that time. So his name, now when one of my sons moved to Southern Illinois to help me with the prison work down there. And about 4 or 5 years ago, he had a son that was born. There was a bris. And Mordechai, this chaplain, came. He had a hospital circumcision. He never had a bris. So he came, and after the Moyel finished doing the bris on my grandson, he took Mordechai upstairs to a room. He did whatever had to be done, and he came down. He ended up calling himself Mordechai Dov Ber.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
So,
pick that name, right?
Pretty amazing story. Here was a Baptist. These are not people that was not part of the shlichus that this is part of the shlichus, but it came as side things where people who grew up as Baptists, as Lutheran, were in foreign fields, they, Baruch Hashem, were able to be brought back and, reclaim their inheritance and put on tefillin, do a mitzvah here. And Mordechai Dober, obviously, he, the more Jewish he got, the bigger his Yetzer Hara also got, and, like all of our struggles, but he doesn't deny he's Jewish, and he does many mitzvahs, and, again, he's just in the middle of it, telling a story about him, and his mother's soul should go straight where it has to go. This is during the Shiva time.